Hello and welcome everyone to the Beacon of Light podcast tonight. You might notice that we are possibly in a different setting, but we are still popping up here live and we have an incredible author. Her name is Desi Payne. And before we start talking to her, we are going to jump into this.
I'm April Tribe Juke. Welcome to the Beacon of Light podcast. I believe we are all made with light, and light is hope. This podcast brings authors who write stories of hope to all of you. Your journey to be inspired and amplified by these stories starts now.
And we are back. Welcome, everyone. We are really excited for you to be here. And I'm sure, as you saw posted, it is quite an interesting title that we are talking about. Do you work with the living dead? All right, Desi, we're going to open it up on that point, that question. Tell me about that title.
Yes, well, I wrote the book in, I think, 2019, and there it is. Do you work with the living dead?
That is such a great hook because I would say it causes us to instantly start questioning, well, what does she mean, the living dead? Like true zombies, like people just are at the workplace, just kind of going through the motions. Explain a little bit more what you mean by that.
Sure. Well, it all began in my living room, believe it or not. And I happened to be walking through one night, and my husband and my daughter, they were watching TV. And they were glued to the TV. And so I looked at this television screen and I looked at them, looked at the television screen, and finally asked them, "What are you watching?" And they paid no attention to me. And then one of them mumbled, "The Walking Dead." Now, if you've never seen The Walking Dead, even though it's been around for a really long time, essentially it's about a guy by the name of Rick Grimes who wakes up from a coma in the hospital to find out that the whole world has been infected with a virus. And that's not COVID either. It's a virus where if you get bit by one of these zombies, or on the show they call them walkers, then you become one of those zombies or walkers. And so, I never got into the show at all. And anytime I'd walk through every Sunday night and they were glued to that TV, I would just look in astonishment like, oh no. But then one night when I walked through, I thought, you know what? These walkers or these zombies, they remind me of people I used to work with. And so I came up with the term the living dead, because these are the people who go through life, they work on the job, and they have no enthusiasm or passion for life at all. Or maybe other characteristics of a zombie, they bite and devour one another with their words. So it just kind of turned into thinking more about it, and I started writing the book. And so I have come up with like 22 workplace zombies. And then when I started to do keynote sessions or professional development and teach my book, I would have people get in groups, and I would have a contest where they would need to come up with the most characteristics of a negative person in the workplace. And you know what? When I asked them to do that, they dove into it, and I mean, they were just enthusiastic about it, and they were writing like this. And what I found was so many of them would come up with like 20, 25 different characteristics. And so I would have them come up and read it. Well, over time, I would collect all those papers. And believe it or not, I'm going to show you in my book. I don't know if you can see that, but I have come up with over 200 characteristics of a negative person in the workplace. And so that just kind of even clues you in to know that the chances are going to be high that you're going to find somebody with some kind of negative characteristic. So that's how it all began, April.
That's an incredible journey to see just by one question that really sparks it up. It's interesting and a little sad because jumping to the negative, it is so easy to list. So this brings my curiosity is that this book can't possibly just have a list of here's everything negative. I'm hopeful that within your book, How do we change that to positivity? Can you
That's right.
answer that question?
I can. So what I came up with is 5 strategies on how to work with negative people. So with those 5 strategies, I'm actually going to give you 2 of them because of time. So the first one I usually say is don't go to their grave. So what I
Ooh,
mean
wait,
by
wait. I got to write that down. That is so good.
yes,
Don't go to their grave. So I got to do the
mhm,
tombstone. Got to pull back the grave. They
there
got to
you
lay
go.
down. Got to put the grave and then, ooh,
Yeah,
don't go there.
don't
Don't
go
want
there.
that.
And what I mean by that essentially is don't descend to their level. Because that's what a negative person wants you to do. They don't want to be the only one that's griping and complaining and just going on and on with their negativity. They want to pull people in. They want to suck people in. So you have to be so intentional about not allowing yourself to get caught up with that. You have to sometimes avoid those people, or with my other strategies, you have to do different things. But the main thing is you have to be conscious of and intentional of not being sucked into their negativity. So that's actually the first strategy. And again, there's 5. So I'm going to give you another one. And to me, it's the most important one of all the 5 strategies that I give. And that is do your best to be gracious. In other words, kill them with kindness. I remember one time I was working on a job and a lady said a lie about me. And so I got called into the boss's office and it was like, why am I here? And the boss proceeded to tell me about this lie, something that I said. And I said, but I never said that. And he essentially said, well, in the future, don't say that. And I'm thinking, but I never said it. And I was so upset with this lady. And funny enough, she ended up quitting a couple of days later. I wanted to say, look, I mean, she didn't even show up for work. And so it just kind of ate on me for the longest time. And in fact, I kind of felt like I was turning into a zombie myself because I was just so upset with her. So one day I thought, okay, it's time to do my best to be gracious or kill her with kindness. So I went out and I bought this really nice smelling candle. And I found out she got a job 30 minutes away. So I drove and I walked in and I said, hey, want you to have a good day. And I gave her the candle and you should have seen her eyeballs. Wah, wah, wah. And but this is what happened at a keynote when I was teaching this one day. A group in the back started waving at me. And I was like, I mean, in the middle of my keynote. And it was like, yes. And they said, we were talking at our table and we could not do what you just did to somebody that, is like somebody in our office. We could never do that. And I said this, I never said it was easy. I was probably gritting my teeth when I put the money out for the candle. But this is the main thing. I didn't want what was on the inside of that lady to stay on the inside of me because that terrible toxic attitude that she had, it was rubbing off on me. And I thought one day, nope, 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 not going to do it, not going there. And so again, probably when I drove there, I was probably still thinking of, but this is what happened when I gave it to her. It was like I was on a different path now. It was like, it was almost like I was free from the whole thing. So those are just a couple strategies, but this is my question for all of you watching right now. So you can put it there in the chat or whatever. How many of you have ever been infected with a bad attitude? I mean, come on, let's be honest. How many of you have ever had a negative attitude? Listen, we all have. And so this is my challenge to you is every day, every single day, you need to take what I call your attitude pulse. Yep. Every single day, you need to consciously think, do I have a bad attitude? Am I acting like the walking dead? Am I acting like the living dead? And you have to constantly be taking your attitude pulse. And if you find out that, yes, you are acting like that, then you need something called CPR. CPR for your attitude. What do you think of that, April?
I love it. So what is CPR for our attitude?
Okay, I'm glad you asked. All right, so C stands for choice. And so I'm going to tell a story on me, which I think is really kind of embarrassing, but I'm just going to be transparent and honest with you. I walked into a grocery store one morning, and actually it was an Aldi's. Do you guys have Aldi's in your area?
We don't. But
Okay.
grocery store, we gotcha.
Okay. So grocery store. I walked in one morning and I only needed a couple things, but for some reason in this particular store, it seems like they always have just one checker. And the line was long, and I was in line, and seriously, I wanted to put my hand on my hip. I wanted to start tapping my foot and looking around, and I wanted to say out loud, really? Only one checker? I mean, I really wanted to say it. But in a split second, this is what I thought. You can't do that. You can't do that because there might be somebody in this store that knows you, and you wrote a book about your attitude and they might see you. You speak across the country about attitude in the workplace, and somebody here might see you. And when I thought that, I thought, yeah, that's right. I can't have a bad attitude. I cannot say that. And when I thought that, I thought, I mean, it was such a learning moment for me. I thought, in a split second, you can choose what kind of attitude you're going to have. It takes self discipline and it takes self control, but you can choose in any given moment what kind of attitude that you're going to have. So C is for choice.
That powerful C in your choices allows for a lot of freedom because sometimes we feel stuck
Yeah.
or we get hijacked, right? We get hijacked
Mhm.
by our emotions and
Yeah.
and our primal brain or the lizard brain. I mean, everyone has a saying of it.
Yeah.
And in that moment where we can check ourselves, it's almost like a countdown happens that
Yes.
it's like, no, don't say it, don't say it, don't say it. And then we're like, oh yeah, well, I'm going to say it. Oops. Or we say, and
Mhm.
almost instantly, there might be an opportunity to find out why.
Yeah.
So the one checker, 3 other people called in sick with flu. Didn't know
Well,
that.
believe it
Hmm.
or not, when I got
Mhm.
up there, she said, I'm so sorry you had to wait. Everybody called off and nobody else is coming for another 30 minutes. And I thought, here, I almost acted like a jerk. Yeah.
Yeah, it's so true. That is fantastic on the C for our choices, and I love the story to back that. Everyone's going to remember that. All right, let's go with P. What's
All right.
next?
P stands for perspective. And what that means is your attitude towards something or the way you look at things. And you know what, April, last year, my whole perspective really on life changed. And it happened overnight because last year in February, I got the phone call. And it was
Oh
pretty
no.
much, yeah, it was pretty much this: Desi, you have malignant breast cancer. And I mean, you talk about rock your world. And I remember when my husband and we went to the surgeon, and they pretty much said, we need to get you started right away on 3 months of chemotherapy. You're going to have a mastectomy, and you're going to have chemo for the rest of the year. And I remember when I got in, I was fine when I was listening to her, but when I got into the car, I fell apart. I mean, I just cried and sobbed. And then we had an hour and a half drive home. And while we're driving home, I actually was just staring out the window, and I was looking, and I thought, I can't remember the last time that I really looked at clouds and looked at shapes in clouds. I thought, wow, life gets so busy and you take life for granted. And while I'm looking at the clouds, I'm thinking, wow, there's some shapes there. And I thought right then and there, life is so precious. And it changed my whole perspective on life. And so many times we lose perspective on really how great life is. And to this day now, when I'm driving, I'm always looking for shapes and clouds. It's almost a game now in life. And so the good news is, I will share with everybody that I had a PET scan 6 weeks ago and it all came out clear. So that is my great news.
Wow.
Yes, yay. Thank
Congratulations. That is
you.
incredible.
Yeah.
Boy, perspective changes.
Hmm.
And some can be big like that,
Yeah.
and some can be just enough to
Yeah.
just tip the scale.
Yeah.
We've been teaching a lot about kindness in my classroom, and I mean, thanks to social media, there's a lot of opportunities where people have videoed, they've been the one showing something. And today, we watched a man who had come onto the subway, very cold, and nobody watched him, nobody was looking at him until a little while later, one man came up to him, took off his shirt, put it
Oh,
on the man, took off his jacket and put it on the man. Now,
oh,
this other man only had a t-shirt on. This is in the cold January of New York.
hmm.
Once he was dressed, a little while later, another man came up to him and offered him his sandwich and his
Oh,
drink.
oh,
And right before the gentleman went to eat, the woman right next to him washed his hands with kind of probably some type of a hand sanitizer wipe or a diaper wipe of some sort.
yeah.
And it
Mm-hmm.
was just a perspective shift on my
Yeah.
students who watched that,
Mm.
and they said, "Oh, well, those were easy." I think sometimes they get lost in, "Okay, we gotta make a cookie bake sale for the world, and then we can," like they
Yeah.
kinda think on this grand scan,
Yeah.
and one of them said, "I can help wash people's hands. I can
Oh,
do that." So
yeah.
it is perspective. It doesn't matter what tips it. I think that's the whole point, right? For your
Mhm.
C and then P with that perspective, you
Yeah.
gotta change it. All right,
Mhm.
give me that R, Desi.
Okay, the R, it's so fun. It's reboot your brain. Yeah,
Ooh,
reboot.
how do we do this?
Okay, well, let me ask you this. If your computer ever freezes up, what's the simple thing that you do? Do you know?
Turn it off and turn it on again?
There's an easier way. You hit
Oh, okay.
Control, Alt, and Delete. And when you do that, it reboots the computer and it refreshes it. And it's the same with us. All attitudes start in our mind. They start with the way we think, which funny enough, the way they kill zombies on the show is they have to destroy their brains. Isn't that crazy? And so again, attitudes start with the way you think. And so you have to control what you think about. You have to alternate those thoughts with some different thoughts. And then that will delete the negative. And that's easier said than done. So there's actually different ways that we can actually reboot our brains where there's a physical change in our brain. So one of them is to exercise. Now, even if you exercise for 3 minutes, guess what? It will reboot your brain because there's a physical change in your brain, and it will increase your mood because you're going to release dopamine and endorphins. So just 3 minutes. If you're at work, you're having a bad day, go somewhere and exercise, walk around the block, do something to get out. Now, another way is to be grateful. And, it's real easy to say, be grateful. But I, years ago, kind of followed something that my husband did, and that is he had a journal. And so I got a journal, but I made mine a grateful journal. So every morning, what I do is I will write just one thing that I'm grateful for that happened in the last 24 hours. And if you look at the end of the year, all the things that you wrote, you're going to find out my life really is blessed. And so again, it goes also back to perspective. But the last one that I want to mention on rebooting your brain, so I have to get my prop out here. You ready?
I'm ready.
Okay, the last one is laughter.
Those
you
are
have
great.
you had to be intentional about adding more laughter in your life. Now, I wore these one time. I was in a restaurant and the guy was waiting on me, and I put on these funky glasses, and he just burst out in laughter. And so I had him put them on. I mean, it was just the funniest thing. So, you have to be intentional because life is so busy. We get stressed out. You have to look for funny things in life. You have to be intentional about watching the funny movies, doing funny things. And so to me, that's one of the best ways to actually reboot your brain, because when you laugh, it will help your attitude. It will give you a better day if you can laugh.
That is so true. When laughter comes through, we really have an opportunity to just smile. And
Yeah.
if you've not smiled in a long time and then you have a big smile, you're like, "Oh, my face aches. Oh, I need to be smiling a lot more. Oh, wow." It's kind of one of those, "Oh, I'm so sorry." thinking, yep, we want to have those muscles in tune and just totally toned, so we're always in
Well,
that laughter.
actually, there has been research where a doctor, he put a pencil in his mouth like this, and when you do that, your facial muscles go up, which actually releases endorphins. And so the whole study was about, making yourself smile, making your laugh so that your brain chemistry would change. So yeah. And then I also love the story. I was watching Good Morning America one day, and Jay Leno was on, and it was one of those feel-good stories where he's going to give away one of his many, many cars. And it was a tearjerker one, but he said something that caught my attention. He said, if I haven't gone through a day and made somebody smile or made somebody laugh, I haven't done my job. And I thought, what a great philosophy that everybody in life should have. You should intentionally be trying to make somebody smile or make somebody laugh. I mean, if everybody tried to do that, wouldn't that be great?
Wow. I think it's so important that you can just do something even that simple. The CPR really, nothing costs money there. And the perspective shift could be big or small, just enough to tip the scale. Rebooting our brain, walk, talk, laugh, get out.
Yeah.
Easy, all free things to do.
Yep.
And I notice myself, it's easy to bite down like a bulldog on something that's negative, right? We just want to hold on to that. And I'm thinking, no, wait, gotta let it go. I mean, it's every day is given an opportunity. Am I going to bulldog down and become a zombie working with the living dead? Or what's my choice in this? And I love how you start with choice, because really we all have that opportunity to choose, not the situation, but you do have the choice of the response.
Yes.
You don't have the choice of the actions against you, but you do have the choice of response. No one told you, oh, this is how you fix it. Go buy a candle and go drive half hour away and give it to a person. Well, it did work, but that's not the only plan. There are many different ways. And the idea is giving beyond, and not as a, see how amazing I am. Yeah. No, it's giving beyond to say, I need to do better.
Yes.
And I love how you notice that, first thing, and still kind of grumbling along the way. And that's okay.
Well, you said a word that I want to point out, and that is responsibility. Now let's break that up into two words: responsibility. Wow, what is your ability and how you're going to respond to people? It's your responsibility on how you respond to people.
It's so matter of fact. When we take the ability to respond, it is so much better than reaction. I love the sign for reaction. It's just boom, and you're surprised. You're caught off guard. Response is more intentional and directional, and so to do that takes thought, takes a choice, takes perspective, takes rebooting the brain. So that's fantastic. All right, so let's recap a little bit. You have two great points of the 5 ways to have that positive attitude. So give us those first 2 again.
Sure. Don't descend to their level. And do your best to be gracious.
And those 2 can be a foundation. If you needed something quick tonight, grab that. But you also need to go out and look for her book. Her book, if you connect up with her website, there it is. Yay. Do you work with the living dead? And you can see running on the ticker underneath. Go there to desipayne.com, and it is free shipping. So even better, go there, go to her website, grab that book. And I saw some other incredible books on there. So this is not the only one she has. So you guys have got to go check it out. It is fantastic. If you have felt something, yes.
Yeah, use the coupon code free shipping as well to get that free shipping.
Okay, use that coupon code for sure.
Yeah.
And the opportunity that Desi, she was here for like 24 minutes so far and is sharing something that she goes around the country speaking. So you've been so blessed to have this opportunity
Yes.
to
Mhm.
share with her in her thoughts, in the ways that she's learned, and then now she's brought it to you. So we are finished with the zombies. Done. No excuses.
There you go. There you go.
No more. It's
There
gonna
you go.
stop today.
There you go. Now I got to end with a funny story. Last year, before I got that diagnosis, so that would have been in January, I was filming my online course on managing stress. Well, while I was doing that, there was a little blooper that happened. Well, I thought it was funny, so I posted it on Facebook, had some reactions from people, and then the weirdest thing was a couple days later, there is an ad on Facebook for America's Funniest Home Videos. So I thought, might as well send it in. Well, so middle of February last year, so this is after I got my diagnosis, I get a phone call. I'm the producer for the producers, let me start over. I'm calling from America's Funniest Home Videos, and the producers loved your video. And so to make a long story short, it was aired the week before my surgery, and I got third place and won $2,000. And so if you want to see that video, it's also on my website and it's on my YouTube channel. So it'll say America's Funniest Home Video. So you can see the video that helped me win $2,000.
Oh, that is a kick. That is
Yeah.
so funny. Now, really, that's a boost, right?
Yeah.
To get a call like that. I think
Right.
somebody upstairs was saying, "You got a little bit more.
It
Here's
was a
some
gift.
laughter."
It was a gift from God. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was a gift
Amazing.
from God. Hmm.
No dead walking there. Nope.
Nope. Nope. No, no, no.
Desi, this has been thrilling, and I'm so happy for you and for the clearance that you have right now,
Yes.
being
Thank
cancer
you.
free.
Yes.
Congratulations there.
Thank you.
And that's very hopeful for many people. So I hope if you've got out of this a lot of great things, practice that CPR, everybody. Remember, it's
Hmm.
a choice. Change your perspective and reboot. Okay. And scream into a pillow first and then head on out and get some exercise.
There you go. That's a great advice.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Desi. Everyone, get to her website. It's running on the ticker underneath there, www.desipayne.com. And thank you again. This has been a real joy of sharing your light with all of us and giving us a lot of hope.
You're
We'll
very
see you
welcome.
all.
Thank
All
you.
right.